Many Americans are frustrated with their representatives in government. In response to this, the enemies of freedom have laid a dangerous trap: term limits. Term limits prohibit a congressman from running for re-election. While this is promoted as a sure way to get rid of bad congressmen, it actually leaves the country more vulnerable to bad behavior from our elected officials. Regarding term limits, Alexander Hamilton said, "Nothing appears more plausible at first sight, nor more ill-founded upon close inspection." Why is the idea of limiting terms ill-founded? In the first place, our country already experimented with term limits, and it was a failure. That's right, the Continental Congress from the early days of this country already had term limits, and they did not work. Why? Because term limits gave the country a perpetual lame duck Congress. A lame duck Congress is a situation for a few months after elections when some congressmen know that they have been voted out of office, so they feel no responsibility to please the voters. Under the Continental Congress's term limits, a politician knew he would never have to stand for re-election, so the country in effect had a lame duck Congress for the congressman's entire term. Without the accountability that comes from seeking re-election, any congressman prone to corruption got his corruption over with in a hurry. When our Constitution was being written, Governor Morris objected to a proposed term limits clause by pointing out that the ineligibility proposed by the clause as it stood tended to destroy the great motive to good behavior, the hope of being rewarded by a reappointment. It was saying to him, "Make hay while the sun shines." With only one term to abuse power and no accountability to the voters, bad congressmen will immediately begin taking advantage of their position of power to serve whomever will profit them the most, and it's not the voters. Re-election is the only power that the people hold over a politician that would cause him to listen to them. Deputy Roger Sherman said that frequent elections are necessary to preserve the good behavior of rulers. They also give permanency to the government by preserving that good behavior because it ensures their re-election. In Connecticut, we have existed 132 years under an annual government, and as long as a man behaves himself well, he is never turned out of office. If a politician actually supports the Constitution, we want the freedom to keep such a man in office year after year. Term limits has a quick fix appeal and looks plausible at first sight, but do not be fooled. Our inspired Constitution does not establish term limits for a very good reason: to ensure that we have a government by the people. If your congressman is behaving badly, rally your neighbors and use the greatest term limit device ever invented: the ballot box. Term limits are dangerous. What's even more dangerous is that the enemies of freedom are using term limits as an excuse to garner support for a constitutional convention, with the potential to destroy our divinely inspired Constitution. Please watch our 2 videos on this subject to learn more about the CONCON threat.